Good morning and greetings from Northumberland. Today, as we approach the end of August, it's Friday the 28th, almost the beginning of a bank holiday weekend, and therefore it's damp outside. It's just the way it works. Today we commemorate St. Augustine of Hippo, not of Canterbury, the son of the monarch who we celebrated yesterday, and one of the great fathers of the Western Church. I say that importantly, one of the great Latin fathers, because of course there were the Greek and the Latin fathers of the Church, and in the West we tend to look to Augustine as being preeminent among the fathers, whereas it would probably be fairer to say that we need to take Greek and Latin fathers into account in our understanding of faith. I'll come to that in a minute. Augustine was, as we know, a bit of a lad, as they say, in Yorkshire at least, when he was younger. He lived with a woman for 15 years or more in a sort of concubinage, which was legal, if not respectable at that time. He had a son who died. We never know the name of the woman with whom he lived. He became a professor and eventually went to Milan. All the time, his mother Monica was praying for him and, dare we say it, nagging him, either silently or by her presence, to consider Christianity. But it's said that really it was the preaching of St. Ambrose in Milan that led to Augustine changing his life. And in the space of 10 years, he was baptized and worked his way up to being a bishop, not because he intended to do that, he wanted to continue as a professor, but that's where things led him. He continued to be a prolific writer, and I'll come back to that again in a minute. One of the things that I read yesterday was that this was from an Orthodox writer, was that the trouble with Augustine was his Greek wasn't very good. I have no knowledge of that because my Greek's pretty bad as well. In fact, it's almost non-existent. And he read things in certain ways, and there's a great controversy over his reading of Romans chapter 5, and this idea of whether we inherit sin, the propensity, the inclination to sin, as we put it from Adam, from it's there in us, or whether we inherit guilt. And those two things are quite important. Augustine favoured the guilt idea, that not only do we inherit the propensity to sin, but we inherit the guilt of that. The Eastern fathers reject that idea, freely admitting that human beings have this propensity to fall and to sin, but saying we can't pass guilt on. And this affects the way in which we look at people, and way we look at baptism, and way we look at who goes to heaven if they haven't been baptized. So all of those things are important, but they're a bit technical. Augustine was on this sort of more austere side. But alongside that, we have to remember he was a very complex character. And as a bishop, he was not only a great teacher and writer, but he was also a very caring person. This was a difficult time. The poor were becoming more impoverished, and he used his own resources to relieve those who were poor. And he's also regarded as melting down some of the church treasures to do that. So here we have this highly influential, particularly in the West, scholar, but also a highly pastoral bishop and a teacher, and also someone whom there is a great controversy about. He illustrates the fact that no one's perfect, not even you, and the fact that we all need to sometimes test our ideas out against the ideas of those who are around us, so that we don't just plough our own furrow, but to check them out against the tradition and the understanding of the church. So we give thanks for Augustine. We give thanks for his teaching, for his piety, for some of his prayers and his confessions. And we pray that we may seek to follow the way of truth and the way of love. May God bless us in this.